clear the garage, please. Car's ready to leave.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here and welcome back to a brand new video, and today we have our very first look and laps on F1 22, the upcoming game from EA and Codemasters. Massive thank you to EA for letting me have a go at an early build. In this first video this week, it's all going to be gameplay from the upcoming Miami Grand Prix circuit, and what you're watching here is literally my first ever outlap on this game. But starting from next week, we'll be able to upload further gameplay videos from other circuits and delve into even more details about other parts of the game, like My Team Career Mode and F1 Life. But today's video is strictly about the first impressions, handling the Miami GP circuit, and also showing you some pretty cool new gameplay features, including the brand new broadcasting for formation laps, safety cars and pit stops, and the manual grid slot sequence and manual pit stops. But first and foremost, just going out for our very first lap on this game is so exciting. A whole new era of Formula 1. You can see on the right hand side the heads-up display, all new cars and bodywork, and a new engineer.
Understood. Stopping this lap.
Because Jeff is gone. He is no more. That is a brand new race engineer, and it's actually someone who used to work in Formula 1, who used to be a McLaren pit crew member. Mark Priestley, turned presenter these days, he's been hired to do all the radio for the F1 game, and they've used a real F1 pit radio microphone to record the audio as well. So a really nice new feel to the race engineer, a man you're going to be hearing a lot of the time, be it practice, quali, or the race, or the sprint race, because sprint races are now a thing in F1 22. Now, I've only got 10 minutes in today's video to rattle through as much stuff, so I recommend using the YouTube chapters to navigate to what part of the video you want to see, what new feature you want to see. So kicking things off here with that new formation lap manual grid slot sequence. So here we are, forming the grid for a sprint race at Miami, and we've now got this new heads-up display as we go through to the last corner to show us where our grid slot is, how many meters away we are, and then we get to judge and brake and manually park our car. And so that means you could, in theory, rotate your car and face it left or right towards an opponent, and you can get it wrong. I overstepped the mark here in this other gameplay with the McLaren, and it reset me further back than I did with the Ferrari. There's also new broadcast options if you don't want to do the manual approach, to sit back and relax and watch.
Then the formation lap gets underway, and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
So with this broadcast formation lap, you don't have to manually do the grid slot stop, and you just watch basically and hear Crofty give you some information ahead of the race. And now here we go then, 5 red lights are out and we're underway for a 5-lap sprint race around Miami, because the sprint race will scale to what your full race is. So in this instance, my race weekend was 25%, so it scaled down to a 5-lap sprint race. You can do sprint races in any Grand Prix mode. In the career mode in my team, it will only be available in the authentic circuits it's available at in the real season. But we're here now having a first go at the AI and seeing what this Miami circuit's like to race. The first sector, tight and twisty, very difficult to make an overtake, but then it kind of opens up a little bit into the hairpin with Albon having a go at me. And this first sprint race is a great chance for us to talk about the handling and the new tyre model in this game. I would say the handling in areas is quite different from last year's game, in other areas quite familiar. Now at low speed, the cars are so cumbersome, very heavy. You can feel that extra weight that the F1 teams are trying to strip with paint now on this game, because at low speeds the car is just so slow when you're steering, and then at high speed you can feel the downforce actually grip up, and you're able to actually still dance the car around some of these faster corners. Wheel to wheel, the AI, well obviously it's a preview build, so I can't comment too much. It's not final AI coding, but already they were being punchy, racy, coming back at me a little bit and giving me a hard time if I made mistakes, going deep, and actually wanted to find fight me back a little bit in wheel-to-wheel combat. So we've flown through that F1 sprint race at Miami. We'll show you the next race, the Sunday Grand Prix, a little bit later in the video. But right now, I want to show you the broadcast system for a pit stop now. So now, if you choose to not go with the immersive manual pit stop, this is what you'll get in the pit lane.
And away we go, no problems, very smooth. Mercedes will no doubt be very happy with that stop.
So it's almost like a YouTuber's edited replay cameras over the top of the gameplay, but you're actually seeing it locally from the game itself. And in terms of the pit stops, let me just talk about the tyres. Like I said, the tyre model is very different. Just like in real life, I felt like the tyre temperatures were quite hard to get up as soon as you came out the pits. You have to be very cautious on the rear end. And on race starts, just like this one, as we go now to 5 red lights for the Grand Prix race that paired up with the sprint race we just did earlier, driving as Leclerc. I think the race starts are a little bit harder now versus the AI. You have to really manage the throttle, and that's also the case at any low-speed corner. I felt like the car was a lot more lively on the rear, and that's due to the new tyre model and also the handling with the aero model as well with these new cars. But for sure, out the pits, AI are going to give you a tougher time now when you're trying to heat up your tyres, and just generally also, like they were in last year's game, they are going to fight you more, they are going to come back at you, and if they do sense a place to make an overtake, they will. I think the Miami Grand Prix circuit also played into that. It's actually a pretty damn decent circuit, I feel, at least on the game, with, you know, wheel to wheels, because there's opportunities where a space opens up and then it closes straight away. The AI still make mistakes as they did on last year's game, so getting that kind of realistic player, almost player-like coding from the AI with Russell's lock up there as we pressurized him into the next brake zone. Then with DRS available, we're able to try and actually make a move. And this is what I mean at Miami. You know, you've got sections of this circuit where it kind of narrows up and then widens, narrows again in the last sector. So yeah, really fun circuit. You know, I've enjoyed driving on other games already, and on this game, equally just as fun. And here we go, the manual pit stops. And this one was rather late from me because that was my very first time doing it. This time round in the Red Bull as Verstappen, optimal. Got that bang on, and I got a shorter estimated stop time period. Even tried it in the wet as Alonso in the Alpine and got it bang on there. So if you choose the immersion on the pit stop option rather than the broadcast sequence, you have to, just like you did way back in F1 2010, you have to time the point of your turning. On F1 2010, it was braking. You had to press the brake pedal at the right time. On this game, it's actually, you know, timing the turn-in manually with a button. On the right-hand side, you can see the tyres, very cold still, halfway out the pit lane, then chasing after Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. We'll cut later, 2 laps later, it's taken to, well, Vettel to get out of the way, and for us to actually now size up a move on Fernando Alonso. Dive down the inside, the track in narrows, really, really dangerous spot to make a move, but we've gone for it. But Alonso comes back at us here. We're so close to the walls as the track is really narrow here before it opens up for the hairpin. Alonso and me wheel to wheel now as we go down to the hairpin, and you're about to see some of that great wheel to wheel racing as we go into the brake zone. Alonso locks up, I go deep and misjudge where I'm braking, and Alonso switchbacks me, but we're able to defend it the inside line just before this very tight single file section here at Miami. It's a very unique circuit. You know, at parts it looks like, you know, Abu Dhabi, and in other parts it looks like Singapore as we go under an actual highway. But that's actually where the racing action ended for me then in that 25% race. So now here we go to 5 red lights for a 3-lap race, driving now as Verstappen, so you get a feel for the Honda engine also in terms of the audio. That I will be showing the engine sounds right at the end of the video, so you can check that chapter out. But we're now here in the Red Bull, driving as the new reigning world champion Max Verstappen. The AI fighting hammer and tong up the road, but we're going to get into a battle with Leclerc on the inside. It's going to be banging tyres as Leclerc squeezes me, as you would expect a player to do, being on the inside line. We're jockey for position and just about keep it side by side through, well, what I thought was a single file section, but we just about make it. I was very surprised Leclerc didn't back out of that. Again, showing off some punchy racing with the AI. Now here's a quick wet weather, full wet tyre start, just to show off a little bit of the graphics in the wet. Of course, a preview built, so nothing's final, but I feel like they have further improved graphically how the rain looks in terms of the standing water, the puddles, the reflection. Hopefully it'll be a bit clearer on this year's game to tell when that crossover period is. And now just before we end the video, here are the 4 different engine sounds from the preview build at the moment. So that's been my very first outing on the F1 22 game. If you're new around here, get subscribed for more gameplay videos next week. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and be sure to hit that like button. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.